started. So good morning, everyone. This is our last session. It has been an amazing NMEA Teachers Institute conference, and I'm so glad you are with us today. Oh, I got my notes. I'm sorry. This session is going to be with Burlington English with the wonderful Stephanie and the marvelous Melissa. Both of them are really good. I love this program, so I know you guys will as well. If you have any questions at all, Melissa will be in the chat box. I will be moderating here and there and sending out the evaluation towards the end. But feel free to talk and ask questions. They are here for you. They are amazing, and they're going to show you a lot of interesting things. So without further ado, Steph.
All right. Thanks, Mariah. Yes. Hi. Welcome, everyone. I see we've got Marisol in the chat. If you haven't already put your name and what program you work with in the chat, it's really helpful for me so that I know I'm talking to real people instead of just talking to myself. I would really appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in just a minute, but once I do lose the ability to see the chat box, which my fantastic colleague, Melissa, is going to be manning for me. So as you have questions, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat box. She'll be answering as many as she can there. And then we'll save a couple minutes at the end to make sure we address any questions that come up. Since this conference might draw a wider range of participants to this session than just Burlington English customers, I wanted to make this session broad enough that it might be helpful to everyone. So with that, let me go ahead. Oops, not turning off my camera, sharing my screen. All right, I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen now. And so for the purpose of today, since we do have a broad audience, we're going to cover 5 steps to serve your students online. So even if you aren't an ESL teacher or currently use Burlington, hopefully you'll be able to take some nuggets away that will be helpful for you. And of course, we will be talking about the ways that Burlington can help in the times that we're in. So for those of you who maybe are unfamiliar with Burlington English, Burlington is a comprehensive, wide range of easy-to-use blended learning courses for your students' English language learning and career readiness needs. We have a curriculum that's flexible, so it works in any environment, whether that's face-to-face, a hybrid or blended model, or virtual online learning completely. So as you can see on this screen, our curriculum is available on all devices, including smartphones, Chromebooks, tablets, you name it. If you can get an internet connection or use data to connect to the internet, you can get to us. So we know that every program is going to look different this fall, and we might be forced to change our program offering with little notice like we did in the spring. So whether you're going to be teaching face-to-face or hybrid or virtual, you can use the Burlington English curriculum to keep consistent across all modalities. This handout that you see on the page will be emailing out, so it's really important that we know who's here. So type in that chat box, let us know who's here, because everyone who's attending will get this handout. It's also going to serve as our agenda and the key categories that we're going to talk about, from planning to training, connecting, teaching, and reporting. And then if there's time at the end, I'll go ahead and log in live to Burlington English and show you around, time permitting. So let's start with planning. That is the thing that caught us all off guard in March because we couldn't plan. So now that we have had some time to think about it, of how our instructional model is going to look, we need to think about a few key categories. First is going to be if you're offering a hybrid model with part face-to-face, part virtual, or maybe you're going all virtual. Are you going to be meeting with students live on a platform such as this, or on Zoom, or any platform that you like? We love to hear what people are using to meet with students virtually. So if you're using something, go ahead and type it in the chat box and let us know. Zoom is the one that Burlington English uses. We are not affiliated with Zoom. We are 2 completely separate companies, but because we use Zoom so much for our own trainings that we do, we've become pretty well versed, so we do try to answer any questions from teachers using Burlington who also use Zoom and try to help them out with Zoom, but sometimes we might need to refer you to zoom.us, which is the website for Zoom, if you have questions that even stump us. And of course, once we figured out how we're going to hold class virtually, if that's the case, we need to consider the curriculum that we're going to use. So what I heard from a lot of teachers, especially back in like April and May, was that teachers were spending hours and hours and hours putting together PowerPoints and coming up with all sorts of resources that they could share with their students virtually in a way that would make class still engaging. And so Burlington English, what we offer is we call them ICLs, which stands for in-class lessons. And those were meant and designed for face-to-face teaching. They were meant to be projected in the classroom, whether that's a smart board, if you're fortunate enough to have smart boards in your classroom, or a projector onto a wall or a screen or whatever setup you can have, but just a way to show the whole class your screen. And because it's web-based, it actually translates really nice to this model where people are teaching online, because instead of projecting it onto a wall, we're simply sharing our screens over Zoom or Google Hangouts or other platforms. So I've heard from teachers that they are very happy to have this resource and not spending hours and hours and hours creating content. They're only creating the content that they would like to create, but they've got a solid foundation with Burlington in-class lessons to share with their students. The other thing that's really important to consider if you're looking for curriculum to teach right now is making sure that students' independent learning, what they're doing as homework or on their own time, that it's connecting to that teacher-led instruction, right? We know a best practice for instruction is to repeat and keep things relevant. So with having those two modes of instruction, teacher-led and student-independent practice connected, we're going to reinforce those skills and see measurable skill gains quicker. And of course, support, that last bullet on the screen, support for your curriculum. So if you're working with a provider, a curriculum provider, and you're not getting the support that you need, that's time to maybe consider a new curriculum, right? So with Burlington English, we are very proud that all of our training, support, technical assistance, anything you might need is completely free and complimentary for all of our customers. So if you need a training, even if it's not one that might be on our menu of training that customers get to see in a tile that's labeled training, you just let your rep, which New Mexico, I'm your girl, Melissa's your girl, you just let us know that you need a training that's not offered right now, and we customize a solution for you. Which segues into training. So when we talk about training, one of the first considerations that we were making back in March and also making right now is whether or not our training can be face-to-face or online. For a lot of you, we know this isn't a choice. The decision is made, everyone's online, but some of you do have the ability to meet face-to-face, and that's a great opportunity to seize if you have that option. The other thing to consider is whether or not your training is going to be provided by internal staff or by publishers or product owners, things of that nature. So again, with Burlington, all of our training is completely free and complimentary. So you can have a Burlington staff member train all of your staff. But if you rather have a train the trainer model where you have us train a smaller group that then become the advocates on campus or on site and they train the rest of the staff, that's an option as well.
Stephanie.
Melissa,
Yep.
I can hear you.
Just letting you know I've got the power now.
Wonderful, wonderful. So everyone, as you're typing into the chat box, if you have anything that you want Melissa to turn on her mic and interrupt for, she can absolutely do that. Thanks, Melissa. All right, so moving on, allocating time for teachers to practice product usage. I don't know about you, but I always like to practice when I'm using something new. Mariah, Melissa, and I actually met on Tuesday to practice this platform, this Hopin platform, because it was brand new to Melissa and I. We had never used it, and I didn't want to have all of the goof ups that I had on Tuesday with Mariah in front of you all today. So we met beforehand, and it only took about 15 minutes to make sure I knew how to share my screen, unmute myself, things like that. So make sure that you're asking a colleague to practice if you are new to either Burlington, new to Zoom, new to Google Meets, whatever you're using. And if you don't have a colleague to practice with, or you're not comfortable asking a colleague, you can always ask Melissa and I, and we love to practice with people. We will meet on Zoom, and you can try all the tools. Melissa, do you have anything to share about meeting with teachers and practicing with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done this several times with teachers around my territory, and it's always fun to get together and practice before going live with something new. And so I would just encourage you to reach out to a colleague or a friend, or as Stephanie said, either she or myself, because we're here to help. And if you just want to spend 5 minutes and try a new feature you haven't tried before, or actually run through a whole class, we would be more than happy to support you. Even later on, after you've been teaching with Burlington for a while or teaching online for a while, we would really love to be invited to observe a class. We learn so much from watching teachers do their thing, work their magic with students, and we're always happy to help in that way too. So we're here for you.
Yeah, definitely. And at the end of the presentation, you will get the contact information for both Melissa and I. So if you're wondering if that sounds like something you'd like to do and you'd like to practice, you'll have our information. All right. And then the last two bullets, we need to train teachers, right? We can't expect teachers to just know how to use things. As intuitive as Burlington English is, and it's very user-friendly, things are where you expect them to be for the most part. Nothing will increase success like training, right? So we want to make sure that you have the tools and you have that time ahead of time. And then, of course, reviewing best practices with teaching along with product awareness. So there are definitely some best practices that we teach in our trainings, not just how to use Burlington. All right. So next is connect. This is the area that gave most people, especially in the spring, the biggest trouble, right? Because we moved online with little to no notice, and we found ourselves trying to figure out, how do we tell students that class is online now? So the first thing you want to consider is, do you already have a place or a way to communicate with students, to communicate with prior students? Maybe they attended in spring or summer, or if you've already had an early fall cohort, do you have a way to communicate with them? And do you have a way to recruit new students if you're looking to expand your program? Maybe some enrollment numbers have shifted because of the pandemic. The best thing that I can suggest to you is using a variety of marketing tools. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. You're probably saying, yep, we know we need a variety of marketing tools, but maybe you don't know what that could look like. Well, we have tried to make it easy for you. So at Burlington English, this is also one of the things that you'll be getting in an email after the session. So make sure you're letting us know that you're here. But we have a student recruitment kit for your youth that will be customized to your program. So we've got a great flyer. Those can be printed out, hung up in local coffee shops, posted on street signs, posted wherever you can, or even snail mailed to students. We also have a social media post that we'll customize for your program so that you can be posting on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever social media platforms you can reach your students. And of course, email. So we will give you a digital marketing flyer for an email blast if you're able to email all of your students. After you have a great marketing campaign and you've got all of those resources, now what do you do with it if you don't know where to reach students? Well, we would encourage you to reach out to community partners. We're hearing a lot across the nation of United Ways stepping up to help advertise for programs, Boys and Girls Clubs, all of those great community partners that your students are embedded in. Maybe they're embedded in those groups because of their kids or family members. They are a great resource to help get the word out and recruit new students, as well as get those former students from spring to come back to your program. One of the other great things about adult education that I know I'm preaching to the choir on this one is we know word of mouth is a great way to get new students and get students coming back. So if you're able to reach a handful of students, maybe you can't get a hold of everyone because contact information isn't accurate, encourage the students you do reach to reach out to their former classmates if they're former students, or reach out to friends and family that might be interested in coming to your program. And this is the big one. If you do have face-to-face time, if you are a program that maybe you're doing a hybrid model, or maybe you only have face-to-face time for intake and orientation or testing, this leveraging the face-to-face time for planned closures. If you're a program who gets to be fully open right now, I encourage you to plan for unforeseen closures in the future. And what that can look like is, let's say you have a computer lab on site. So your teachers are used to going to the computer lab to use Burlington English with their class. Or maybe you have a class set of Chromebooks or tablets or whatever beautiful technology your program might have on site. Well, your student might only have that smartphone if campus closes again. So I would encourage you to actually set those Chromebooks, set that computer lab aside, and have students log in on their smartphones in class. So you're building them that habit and training them how to do that for, again, either planned or unforeseen program closures in the future. And then lastly is streamlining the student experience. So with that, I'm sure that you can relate. I know I can, but for me, it's when is my meeting, right? Not when is my virtual class, and then where's the link? Where's that link that whoever set up the meeting sent me for that meeting? In this virtual world, we all have so many links flying across, whether it's an email or group chats or all sorts of things. And we know students face that too. They might have a WhatsApp group and it's lost if your group texts are like mine. What I really want is way up top and I have to scroll for it. And then I'm seeing lots of pictures of family and kids and dogs and I love it. But that link I need, I can't find it anymore because the group chat got flooded with other things. Or maybe our students aren't in the best habit of checking their email and saving important emails. So finding the link to your virtual class might be more difficult than it should be. One thing that can make it easy is Burlington English actually released, because of the pandemic, what we call the virtual class scheduler. So once you have scheduled your class in Zoom or Google Meet or wherever you're scheduling your virtual class, you can simply click on the day in our virtual class scheduler. A window will appear where you can put in the information, including the day, the time, a brief description, and the link to that meeting. And then students, when they log in, they get a really quick button that just says join. And you, as the teacher, get a beautiful, easy to read report that will show you who joined your virtual class and who did not. A quick visual so you can get attendance for that virtual class. All right, now we move on to teaching. We've gotten our students connected, we've advertised to them, we've done the planning, we know what we're doing. Now the tough part, right? Now actually teaching in this new model. One thing that Burlington is really proud about is because we are designed for blended learning, we are designed for a variety of implementations, is that it has made life easy for teachers to be flexible in what their classroom looks like during this time. So one thing that I'm working with programs on right now is a transition from triage response to a sustainable, flexible model. So we know we had no notice that this was coming and we all went into triage mode. So we were making quick decisions that maybe are not sustainable or scalable for long-term success. I know a lot of that turned to not knowing what we were going to do for class instruction, and maybe some standards actually left our instructional practices. So we want to make sure that we're transitioning back to, now that we're in a long-term model, back to standards-based instruction that will connect, again, what students are doing independently with what the teacher is doing. So for those of you who don't know Burlington English, we are fully standards aligned. We are aligned to the Common Core standards, the CCRS, the ELPS, the CASAS, the TABE Class E. You can see a screenshot right here. And we provide all of this in our lessons. We have what we call a course and lesson planner, and that's where you can find all of these great resources. So you can see a screenshot where I can see all of my correlations documents. And then if you take a look at those, we show all of our lessons and the correlations that follow. I don't have a screenshot, but maybe if we have a few minutes at the end, we also have full lesson plans for all of our Burlington Core lessons. And on every single lesson, we call out the standards alignment too. So if you're worried about not knowing if you're teaching to the standards, we've got you covered. All right, now we need to incorporate student engagement strategies. And for this, we actually base all of our Burlington trainings on this. How do we keep students engaged? So I can't do this one bullet point in this 40-minute session justice. We've got an hour, I think it's an hour and 15 session in the training tile of your account on this. And some little tips and tricks I can share with you right now is keeping your camera on. It makes a world of difference. So if you're able to, I really encourage you as the teacher to turn your camera on so that your students can see your smiling face, because I've been in your classrooms before the pandemic and I know how much your students love you. They come to class because they love you. So let them see your face. I promise, if you've got dirty dishes or if you've got laundry hanging up in the back room, whatever the case is, your students don't care. They just want to see your face, and encourage them to turn on their cameras. Of course, we never want to pressure anyone to turn on a camera if they're uncomfortable with it, but it makes a world of difference if they are willing to. Consider ways to assist your students with becoming familiar to online learning. So just like you're attending sessions like this and other ones to learn what does online teaching look like and how do I do it as an instructor, our students need that same kind of orientation to what does it mean to be an online student. No one planned for this, them included. So consider holding orientations, open houses, Q&As. Melissa, I think you've got some great insights to share on ways to assist students with becoming familiar.
Oh, sure. As Stephanie said, having some sort of open house or event, and sort of tying back to something Stephanie mentioned earlier, while you've got your students in front of you, however that looks for however long, hopefully things will get better COVID-wise, but make sure just to orient your students to, if you've got a meeting platform, make sure they understand how it works, even if you're not currently using it, and make sure that they've got access to a device. And in terms of Burlington, if you're using Burlington, spend a bit of time having everybody download the app to their smartphone, go over what a lesson looks like and how it works, so everybody at least has a baseline familiarity.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. And with Burlington English, we also have tutorial videos, and we have a teacher's guide on using those tutorials for an orientation purpose, orienting your students to Burlington English. The great thing about those tutorial videos, if you haven't checked recently, I think it's 2 weeks now, we added voiceover to all of those videos in different languages. So before we used to just have the closed captioning if a student needed language support, but now we actually have spoken voiceovers. So if you haven't checked them out lately, definitely go look at those. You can see those in a variety of languages. And then a last thing I would encourage you to do when it comes to teaching is encourage and identify new ways that your students like to learn. We're in a new model of instruction, so maybe they are going to express new ways that they want to learn in this new model. What we're seeing from the data of our usage from pre-pandemic to during pandemic and now even into the fall is we're seeing an uptick of usage across the board, which is fantastic and maybe to be expected as programs had closed their physical doors. But with that, we're seeing usage in different areas. One area we're seeing a skyrocket of usage is with our digital readers. And what those are abridged versions of popular in America texts. So not American texts, but popular texts read in America. Typically, these are going to be the texts that you read in American high school and middle school. So we've got Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, we've got Pocahontas, we've got Moby Dick, some really great titles. And teachers have created virtual reading rooms around this and created book clubs. So the usage on that is going up in an exponential way, which is really exciting. I like to tell myself that parents are probably sitting around and reading these stories to their children now that they're cooped up in their house with their family for longer hours than before. I don't know if it's true, but I like to tell myself that's what's happening. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see a snapshot of our career courses and career word list. So in addition to just general English and civics-based English courses, we have career word list and vocabulary practice. And as of this upcoming Monday, you didn't hear it here, it's a little secret, I'm not supposed to tell you, but coming next week, we will have an additional almost 40, I think it's just shy of 40 careers that students can get the language skills for those job-specific vocabulary. All right, last but definitely not least in our 5 steps is making sure that all that hard work that we've done, so we've planned, we've trained, we've connected the students, we're starting to teach. We don't want that to go for nothing, right? We want to be able to report that. If you don't know, for those of you who don't know me, my past life, I like to say, I worked at the Arizona Department of Education, Adult Education Services. I was actually a customer of Burlington before joining the Burlington team. So I'm very well familiar with the state office mindset. I worked there for nearly a decade, it feels. But with that, right up front, I'm just going to tell you all of this is going to be state specific. So you do need to be in regular communication with your state office. Every state will have their own policy and procedure and rules and compliance that you need to make sure that you're falling within. So just communication with your state office so that you can do things like the following. Determine if you need to change your state database. Do you need to change the class schedule, the class type, the class descriptor, any of those things that you might need to change in your state database. And also confirm the requirements that are needed to track and report attendance, especially for any time that's happening not in a traditional manner, right? Not happening face-to-face. So every state gets to put their own flavor on what the requirements are, but you can rest assured that Burlington English, we track all student time and we are compliant with OCTAE and NRS requirements. But again, states get to layer on their own individual requirements on top of that. So again, communication with your state office is going to be so important. And then once we're reporting, what does that report look like? And how do we train staff to be familiar with what the data says and what does it mean, as well as how do we quickly get it? Pulling reports can be cumbersome sometimes, but we want to make sure that it's not. With Burlington English, all of our reports are just a couple clicks away at your fingertips, whether that's proxy reports for attendance time or progress reports to see how your student is doing. And then, of course, time for teachers to review these. So after we've trained to look at these, now we need time to look at them. Melissa and I love to look at progress with teachers and administrators. So if you are a Burlington customer and you're looking at your data and you're not sure what it's telling you, reach out to us and we will definitely be happy to review it with you. And if you're wanting more specific Burlington training, like how do you actually teach with Burlington English? How do you actually go in and get your students working on Burlington English? Located in your training tile in your account. So you log into your account and then click on that tile that says training, click on virtual training. You can see a screenshot here of some of the titles that we're currently offering. We're always adding more, but right now we've got a 2-part series with teaching with Core, so that's going to be teacher focused. A 2-part series on getting students started, so focused on those student lessons. A 2-part series on career explorations and soft skills, which is a 3-level course that we offer, and a writing training as well. So all of these, again, completely free, completely complimentary to Burlington customers. You just log in and you can register yourself on your own. If the schedule doesn't work for you, but you want one of these trainings, that's again when you reach out to Melissa or myself, and we make sure that we add a training option for you. Or maybe if you know that you and your colleagues need a training that's slightly different than anything that we offer, you want something custom. Again, you reach out to Melissa or myself. Our contact information is on the screen for you. So definitely jot that down, screenshot it, save it, because these are our cell phone numbers. So we do love it when people call us. You can text us, you can email us, of course. And these are here for you to reach out anytime. All right, we've got 10 minutes to spare. Melissa, are there any questions in the chat box that need addressing?
No, not at this time.
All right, well then I've got 10 minutes and we'll save a little time for Mariah, of course, at the end. So I'm going to go live for you all. All right, so the beautiful thing about Burlington English is we are fully web-based. So if you are a customer from way before, a long time ago, we were not web-based before, but we are now fully web-based. So students, teachers, administrators, every Burlington English user, you simply come to burlingtonenglish.com. It's important that you put that Burlington English, because if you just Google search Burlington, you'll probably get the Coat Factory. So Burlington English. Click on the BE Login button. I've got more on my screen than you or your students will have since I'm a Burlington employee, but I wanted to point out a few things before we take a look at what a lesson looks like. Down at the bottom, you can see we've got a course called Using Your Computer. This is a course designed for students who may need extra support around digital literacy. So if your students struggle with using a computer, appropriately named, our course, Using Your Computer, will be the best resource for them. So we've got tons of videos here, and we are aligned to the North Star Digital Literacy Standards, if you're familiar with the group North Star. So we have all of these here for you. They are animated videos that have no spoken language. So that's intentional to be accessible across all language literacy levels. So no matter your student's language literacy, they can watch these videos and get a tutorial on how to do things such as using their mouse pointers, dragging and dropping. And the other cool thing about these videos is they're all relevant to skills they'll need in Burlington English. So the videos include how they will use that skill, such as dragging, in an activity in Burlington English. I'll give you a sneak peek as to our readers. These are what we talked about, our virtual reading rooms that are kicking off and book clubs. Here you can see we've got 3 different levels. We've got beginner, intermediate, and advanced. We've got a little over 30 titles here for you to use with your class. And all of these have an interactive comprehension question built in. So depending on the level, if they are beginners, intermediate, or advanced, those comprehension questions pop up at different times. Advanced students will need to read multiple chapters before they get those questions, whereas beginner students will get those questions more frequently, so that we're not taxing their capacity maturely. So they're great. And then also pictures are included, but more so in the beginner level, less so in intermediate, and even less in advanced. All right, I'll give you a sneak peek into the career word list. So this is, again, not released till next week, but you get to see and experience it first. They are organized by the 16 federally recognized career clusters. So those career clusters come to us from Octane, and we have organized all of our career word lists into those career clusters. So you can see we've got agriculture. Moving on, I'll try to do a slow scroll, since sometimes I know when you watch someone else scroll on their screen, you can get a little motion sick, or if you're like me, you can get a little motion sick. But you can see we've got great options here for students who can benefit from that industry-specific vocabulary. All right. The last tile that I want to show you with our last 5 minutes is my favorite tile of all, which is where the courses live, in the courses tile. So here you can see we've got a list of our courses. We've got our newest 6th level Burlington Core. So these are aligned to the NRS levels. We've got basics, low beginner, high beginner, low intermediate, high intermediate, and advanced. We also have a 3-level series called English in America, and our 3-level series, Career Explorations and Soft Skills. So these are a great opportunity for you and your students to learn in a blended, hybrid, virtual, face-to-face model, whatever it is. I'm just going to click into one of the middle levels and show you what comes with a Burlington course. Burlington Core course will have your course and lesson planner. We saw a screenshot of this in the presentation, so I won't show you what we saw in the screenshot, but I did want to point out that we do have lesson plans and audio scripts for all of our lessons. When you open the lesson plan, you can see an overview that calls out those standards, right? If those standards are really important to you, you can have that. And then on page 2, we get into a detailed lesson plan. So if you're new to teaching or you're going to have a substitute, these are great. If you're an experienced teacher, this is where you'll look for inspiration, right? Those creative juices dry up on even the best teachers. Those creative juices just dry up sometimes. So you can come here for some inspiration as to what Burlington would do with this lesson, and then jump off of that platform and do your own thing and get creative with the lesson. You also get in-class lessons. That's those projectable lessons for your class. These would be shared either on Zoom, Google Meets, wherever you're sharing your screen, or if you're face-to-face, projected onto a wall or a smartboard in the classroom. You get worksheets to go along with those. And then students have access to the bottom 4. So as a teacher, I get access to all of it, but your students will get access to the bottom 4. They'll get student lessons to work on independently, and this is where proxy time will come in. That attendance time for away from school work comes into our student lessons. Vocabulary practice, my portfolio, and progress. We really want students to take ownership over their learning. So students on multiple screens will get to see their progress. So if you can see on my screen, it might be a little bit tiny for you, but it says my progress up here. And this is what the students see when they log in. They get to see how much time they've spent on all of the activities, their best score, and their progress. And it is clickable. So if I click that, then I get a beautiful roadmap of how I'm doing on this lesson. I can see where I've left off, my best score, and my time. Burlington English also has a speech pronunciation course that it is our star child that we love so much. So after students have recorded their voice into Burlington on various activities, whether those are dialogues, where they're going back and forth with the computer, or just simply vocab practice where they're speaking words or short phrases, it's listening to their speech all the way down to the phoneme level. So all the way down to the individual sounds, and it will correct them with our speech trainer when they make consecutive errors. So it'll pop up for every student at a different time based on their needs, their speech patterns, and they'll get a course that shows them how to correct that speech. It talks through the mouth and how to form those sounds, as well as give them extra targeted practice on the sound they're struggling with. All right, 1 minute to spare. I think Mariah's probably back in the room and needs to hand it off, or needs to give you a survey.
Hi, wow, sorry.
That's okay. I did it. I did it on time.
Yeah. No, I'm glad. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I'm going to go ahead and put several things in the chat. Oh, maybe not. I don't like the way that looks. All right. So if you could go ahead and please fill out that survey, that would be amazing. We do want to make sure that we are getting all of our feedback from you to make sure that we are making the most of your time and our time. We want to make sure we are meeting y'all's needs. Also, if Let me try to get these. I was like, I'm going to do this really smart. I'm going to type it all out and then just send it. And now it's all discombobulated. I'm like, never mind. All my brilliant work. There we go. All right. If you have not completed the PD survey, that is also there. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. So if you have time, please go ahead and do that. If not, just remember it is there. I know Tina has sent out several emails about it. So, but if you could, also that helps us, the distance learning team, figure out what webinars we need to present to you guys as teachers. And then lastly, if you guys are interested in the motivational coaching session, it starts on Monday. It is a really good opportunity if you guys want to take your student connection skills to that next level. It is really, really good. I've had a lot of feedback on it. So those are just some of the options that we have. But thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Melissa, for being here. We really do appreciate it. If there's any questions, you guys can definitely email them. I believe they put their emails right there on the screen. That's where it is.
Yeah, our emails and our phone numbers. We love calls and texts too.
Perfect. And I know because I email her all the time. So they're amazing. They're amazing. But have a great day, guys. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Melissa. And then if you guys want to go ahead and head over to the Tech Jam, we're going to be there for a little bit, and then we'll go back to the stage where we'll have our closeout and I think one more raffle. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Everyone, thanks for attending. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.